Okay, so we all know we're gonna have questions here. So the first one is, what inspired all of you guys to get started with your passion? Gene, I'd like to start with you. What started with Farm Sanctuary?
Yeah, well, I grew up like most people, eating animals without thinking about it, and that's the case, you know. And as time went, I started learning about veal calves and how they were raised, and my grandmother told me about that when I was in high school, so I stopped eating veal. And then I traveled around the country in the early 1980s, and I learned about the environmental consequences and the harms caused by that. And I learned that you could actually live without eating other animals. So I went vegan in 1985. And the more I looked into this issue, the more I saw how impactful it was for animals, for the environment, for people, and how most people were unwittingly engaged in this industry, harming animals, harming themselves, harming the planet. And so in 1986, when we co-founded Farm Sanctuary, I started going into these places to see firsthand what was happening. I felt it was very important to know what we were talking about. So we would go in and see animals in cages where they were confined so tightly they couldn't move. They were clanking and screaming to get out. We'd find living animals discarded like garbage in trash cans or on piles of dead animals. And it was very difficult, as you can imagine. So we started then rescuing these animals. And in a sense, it was a way that we were able to help individuals and also to help ourselves and to heal ourselves. You know, seeing all this horror and not being able to do anything about it is pretty challenging. So being able to see animals heal and start to walk and then start to trust and start to enjoy life was something that was very inspiring. And that's really the part of what Farm Sanctuary does. We try to transform lives and provide positive models for interacting with animals in a positive way. It ultimately boils down to our relationship. Is our relationship with other animals one of kindness and compassion and mutual benefit? Or is it one of cruelty and callousness and sort of not looking and saying, I don't want to hear, and living in a sort of denial? And that's kind of the ultimate question. And I think most people would prefer the former, to live in a way that's compassionate and aligned with their own compassionate values. So I just sort of sought to try to make a positive difference in the world, and this was the area that seemed that it needed the attention and something that everybody can do something about. So it can be a very empowering area too.
Thank you, Gene. And on that note,